right, guys, welcome back to the Side Dish Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Shin, joined as always by my co-host, Jay Lee. And
Hello.
our special guest, Katie Kim, is back in the studio. Welcome back, Katie.
Thank you for having me.
You guys might remember Katie from an episode we did in 2021 entitled Writing, Directing, and the Fear of Loneliness.
Yes.
A very wordy title.
Interesting.
If you guys want to acquaint yourselves with Katie before delving into this one, that episode is on our catalog. Give it a listen. Let's just jump right into it. Katie, I heard you had a driving lesson today. How'd that go?
It was the first lesson. This was the second lesson today. The first lesson was really fun, and this lesson was really hard.
Okay.
So that was really interesting.
Using very general words. And in what way was it hard?
I was thinking more.
You were in your head?
I was in my.
Is it like a virtual simulation or are you on the road?
Well, that's a thing.
I
think
don't know.
so.
Virtually.
I don't know. I'd assume so. And then that's how they train pilots. So yeah.
I was actually on the road
okay.
this time.
Yeah.
What was the question?
In what way was it hard?
I felt like I was like trying to please my instructor more than
Learn.
learn.
So you couldn't focus on actually learning how to drive because you were too focused on not pissing off your instructor.
Exactly.
Were you getting vibes that he was frustrated with you?
The first lesson, actually, she was really talkative. This lesson, she was more. I felt like she was tired. She told me it was her fourth student today, and I just felt like her stress was sort of affecting me as well.
But then are you trying to get your license here in Korea before you go back to LA in a few weeks? Is that
I
the goal?
already have a license
Oh,
here.
you just don't know how to drive.
Yes, I'm just like refreshing my muscle memory.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Are you going to get a car?
That's like the question I've been asking myself the past year and a half living in LA.
What kind of car would you get? Have you ever thought about that?
I think I would get a Subaru.
Ooh.
That's a very Bay Area car. That's actually like a
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest car. It's not an LA car.
Oh, really?
Yeah, LA, you need to be flashier. Come on.
No, you don't got to be flashy. I like Subarus a lot. I think that would be up there in my choice of
Yeah, my
cars.
parents have
Yeah.
one. It's pretty sick.
Yeah.
So, but going back to LA, then that's a perfect segue. You've been living in LA for a year and a half now, which explains why you haven't talked to us in a year and a half. How has been your experience out there? Like, what have you been up to?
It's a great question. Sorry if I'm a slow talker.
Didn't notice.
I wonder, I can speed it up. I tell my actors to speed up sometimes, so
Okay.
I should
I'm not.
try
I'm not
to-
directing you.
You can.
No.
What was the question?
Okay, so how's been living in LA?
Living in LA. Okay. Well, I am a filmmaker, so my experience in LA is very much colored by that.
Yeah.
Like what I do. I actually I enjoyed it the first 6 months, and then I hated it the next 6 months. And then now I'm sort of,
Coming back around.
trying to figure out how to like it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Because, well, I mean, I don't know if I'm being cynical when I say this. I am trying to say this kind of genuinely as something I observe. I think LA is only really fun if you have the network, first of all, to do like fill in your time. But I kind of get the impression that LA is like, if you have something to brag about, then you're going to love LA. And if you don't, you're probably not going to like it as much.
Yes. I think the reason why LA was so difficult for me was because I was looking for a project.
Something to pour your creativity into.
Exactly. My first feature, essentially.
Right. Did you like scour Craigslist though for any opportunities to just like jump on a project as like a a production assistant?
I did.
Okay.
Instead of Craigslist, I kind of wish I did Craigslist now, but it was tough though because I don't have a car. So it was.
And then going back, then you don't have the Subaru yet.
Yes. So it was like an impossible cycle because most of these work require a car.
Yeah.
But I need money to get a car. So I was like, how do I do this? The solution for me was getting a restaurant job that I could walk to. So that's what I ended up doing for, a few months.
Nice.
But yeah,
You were a hostess at this restaurant, right?
I was.
What kind of food do they serve again?
It's Italian plus New American.
Okay.
Is it like a poppin' like restaurant that people know about? Are you allowed to disclose this information? You can sign in.
Yeah, tell me what's it called? Yeah,
I think this is
called
good for the restaurant.
Buca de Beppo's, Olive Garden.
Is it Bestia? That's like one of the 3 restaurants that I
yes,
know
I've
in
heard of
LA.
it.
Yeah,
It's called Ronin.
Ronin.
I just imagine like Ronin spelled out in like American typewriter font on like a fucking oak board. You know what I mean? God, I hate that place. I hate it already. No, so you worked at the restaurant
Yes.
for a few months. Did you save up enough money to buy a car?
No, I have less money. I had less money than
When
I
you
started.
started with, yeah.
I felt even more broke. It was interesting. It was actually really helpful for me as a director. Maybe I was like trying to find a way to make it work. I think I tend to do that. Like I tend to find like, how can I make this a positive experience? Which I would love to talk about later when we talk about creative process.
Okay, sure.
But because I met so many people, strangers every day, I kind of saw what I'm like. I got to figure out.
Should we do a little role play scenario? Okay, so this is me walking into Ronin circa 8 months ago. Ready? Hi, table for 5, please.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you have a reservation with us?
No, we don't.
Okay. I'm just going to check what is
Sure,
possible.
yeah. My wife is very, very hungry, so
Okay. Yes. I think we probably, and then I'll look at the iPad. And then I'll talk to them as I look at the iPad. But I'm
I've
always
been waiting for a table for 5 for about 30 minutes. I just want to make sure that I go before this new person.
I'm a very wealthy producer in Hollywood, and so if you let this schlub eat before me, I'm going to leave a 1-star rating on Yelp.com.
I see.
What's your name?
Oh wait, this is
Who are you? Katie. Hi, Katie. Yeah, so my name's Joel Spielberg. I'm Steven's little brother. And if you don't get us a table right now...
Steven's little brother.
Yeah, you ever heard of him?
Steven Spielberg?
No. Steven Goldberg. Yeah, Steven Spielberg.
Oh, it's yeah.
All you hostesses in Hollywood are the same. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Come on, schlub. Let's get out of here.
Let's go.
Wait, this is best case scenario that you leave. So you guys actually did what
Right, so
I was
yeah.
going for.
Because you were going to
left.
say something like, oh, sorry, we're all booked up for lunch today, but maybe I could try squeezing you on the patio.
Honestly, the less you say and the more but you have to be agreeable. You have to actually genuinely try to make it work. But if people are upset, they need to just say things out loud. And
Do you ever get chewed out by a customer?
I think that happened once in 5 months.
Wow. What did the person say?
He lied, essentially, and my manager found out because he was trying to say, I called and she answered and she said this is fine. But my manager was the one who had the phone with him the whole day. So he was like, sir, I had the phone. You never called. So if you actually want to get seated, like you have to wait outside. And that's actually something I learned in restaurant business, at least for the restaurant I worked at. Team was more important than guests.
Oh, right.
Actually.
I see.
So, yeah.
And so coming out of that experience, you didn't get enough money for a car. You barely learned how to seat a table of 5, but you think that it was like a life-changing experience for you.
I think I did a great job seating 5 people.
I'm sure you did.
And more. Also because I actually genuinely liked my customers. Like I love people, and it really helped because I'm like, welcome, and I'm just like so excited.
Because you're so lonely living with your aunt in the
Exactly.
valley, and then you go to your
I mean,
job.
this was before that, but
Yeah.
LA is a lonely place. I actually want to say that.
Yeah.
And it's funny that I said that my work deals with loneliness because I guess I just moved to a city and felt lonely
well, so,
again.
so for listeners who don't know, in Katie's first episode, she talks about how art is a kind of way to address and I guess resolve loneliness or feelings of loneliness. Did you feed off that feeling in a positive way, or was it kind of difficult for you to confront that, so sort of head on?
It was both. It was difficult at first, and I think when you're experiencing it, it's hard to actually make art about it because you're so close to it.
Yeah.
I just didn't have the motivation to do daily things. I think it got to
bathe. Yeah.
or like
Wipe your ass.
eat healthy and take care of my body because I think body is so primal. If your body's not in a good shape, at least for me, it's hard for me to do like mental things.
Yeah.
Physical comes first, mental comes second.
Right, right. Were you doing anything to address those feelings of loneliness, i.e., going out and meeting people that were not your customers, going on dates, for example, jumping on the dating apps, hitting up the nightclubs, going to Universal?
Going to Universal.
These are things I would do if I was feeling lonely. So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
in LA.
Mm.
like, did you go on any dates, for example? Did you try to fill
I
in
see
your
what you wanna
time? You know,
hear.
yeah.
You want the...
Katie, you told us you wanted to talk about dating.
I was
Don't
a
make it
little
seem like
tipsy when I said that. And then when I was walking over here sober, I was like, I am not going to talk about dating. Did I go? I did go on 2 dates, and I enjoyed both dates. It was through Hinge. I've never tried Hinge before.
oh my God, I'm so curious what your profile says.
My profile is like really trying to be funny.
Okay.
And
Can we be the
strange.
judge of that? Can you show us your
Oh, I
profile?
don't have it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Do you happen to remember? Because I know that Hinge has like some prompts, right? So do you happen to remember which one you chose? Or
I remember one of them, which was like, my family would, like something about like what my family would say. And I made a joke, like, I'll let you know if they respond to my texts or something.
good one. Yeah.
It was much funnier. Okay, can you cut that out?
Wait, so tell us about maybe a good date and maybe one bad date if you can. Well, you said you went on 2 dates, so I'm
they're
assuming
both
one was
good?
one was good, maybe one was bad, or both were great.
Both. Well, okay, I will say this about dating in LA. I felt like in LA, the process of talking to each other on the app is way longer.
It takes longer to actually establish a time and place to meet. You mean?
Exactly.
That's so fascinating because actually on last week's episode or 2 weeks ago, I forget when this is coming out, but our guest Sam was saying what he does is just like 3 texts in, Ronan, Saturday, 6 p.m., meet you there. And the girl's like, okay, like he'll just like put it all out there. Well, he's a little bit older than you. So I think
That's
that, the older you get, the
yeah.
less time you have to like literally just text. You have like other things to do. But so you found yourself talking a lot to people.
No, it was actually the opposite. I was like, let's meet up. Like, I like meeting the person in person quickly just because I think,
You perform better in person.
yeah, I
than
think
through
so,
text.
actually. I'm terrible. I mean, you guys,
Yeah, you're a
Aaron
really
knows.
bad texter.
exactly. So I felt like what I learned about dating in LA is it's harder, it's more work to set up a physical date than, let's say, New York,
Yeah,
because you have to drive, you have to find parking.
right.
You have to go through more things. So I think that
that's
guys
true.
seem to be more like trying to figure out if you're worth.
Yeah, worth
going on a-
like the gas and
Yes,
the time. Yeah.
exactly. Literally gas.
Gas is so expensive these
Yeah.
days too. But on the dates that you did go on, were they fruitful? Did you learn anything about your dating habits or your styles?
Yes. I think I tend to find good, like, I always want to find a good
Person.
The good things in people.
things in
Yeah.
people. Exactly. So I actually have crushes quite often. I've noticed.
You're a serial crusher.
I am a serial
Yes,
crusher.
you are. Yeah.
And I think there are many reasons for that because I think I'm imaginative and I'm social, I'm curious. So all of these things combine, and I think I'm generally positive. So, but the thing about crush, I actually looked up the definition of crush. It's like an infatuation, and it dies quickly as intense it once was. And that is something I noticed about myself. Like I feel really intensely towards someone.
We've actually talked about this a few times on the podcast, always with our like female like co-hosts or guests. But I think it just boils down to like girls live in a fantasy world when it comes to romance. I've said this to
did
you
say
in
that.
private before. Did you find that like these guys you were dating were similar to your ex? Like, do you think you have established like a type?
Oh, this is such a great question. I realized while dating in LA that I do have a type. And speaking of fantasy, I was like, I literally like sat myself down and I was like, is my type is who I'm attracted to actually someone who's compatible with me?
Very
'Cause
good question. Yeah.
I I read a lot of books, listened to a lot of talks. Because I was also kind of like scientific about it. I was like, how do I become rational about this? And I was like, I need to learn. I think the more I educated myself, the more I was
So romantic.
Yeah, seriously.
exactly.
Yeah.
What was I
Answer
saying?
that goddamn
What
question,
did I
Katie.
say? Oh, I do have a type. Yes.
Yeah.
My type tends to be dreamy, highly creative, talks well, like talkative, passionate, not very practical, essentially.
Because you're basically describing someone who's like not real, right?
Yeah, I mean, they exist.
But I mean, it sounds like Katie has met people like that, and you've crushed on them, but maybe they didn't turn out to be, or like maybe they didn't turn out to be compatible with you. And
Yes.
Or you realize that like their dreaminess was actually a deterrent to getting to know them because they were maybe incommunicative or they needed
Yeah.
alone time to think about their art or whatever, and you realize maybe that you didn't like that in a relationship.
I think that it's something I'm working on to be more grounded and more realistic and more of the earth. And because of that, I don't expect my partner to be any more grounded than me because I don't think I should want something I can't deliver myself. I'm learning that myself.
That's a really like insightful lesson to or conclusion to reach. So then going back to your dates, would you be comfortable telling us about maybe one of the dates you went on, like what the guy did or what you did for the date to impress him?
Yeah. Feels like
If you say what was the question again one more time.
what about the date?
Like anything that you can remember as, you making an effort to do something or him making a very clear effort to do something that you enjoyed or maybe you didn't like.
what did you guys do? Did you guys get dinner?
It's like, you could just start with the facts, Katie.
Did you guys get dinner and drinks? Like, because I'm imagining, because you said that they were good dates, but then did they lead to like second dates, third dates? Because I haven't dated very much, but the ones that I have been on, they've gone well. Like I've was able to carry on a conversation, and it was good, but then there just wasn't like chemistry. So it just usually ended after that one first date. So was your experience anything like that? Or maybe if not, then how was it different?
So the first date that I went on in LA, this is actually kind of funny. So I chose an axe throwing bar in K-Town because it was walking distance from Dina's place. I think I was staying with her at the time. I can't remember, but I wanted to be walking distance from
Your friend's
my
place.
friend's
Yeah.
place so I can just walk back to hers. And I think he was younger than me. He was 3 years younger. And we got 2 drinks. And he offered to drive me back. And I think I was like, okay, fine. But that experience was interesting because he kept being like, can I come over or stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, he's more, I don't know. I called him because I was like, I don't know what he means by this. And I wanted to figure it out. It got to a point where I just got confused by certain texts. He was starting to say that he texted me when he fell asleep.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what he said. He's like, oh, I sent that to you when I was sleeping. So I don't know.
What I said?
He's like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, it's not what I meant or something like that. It was so confusing. And so I called him and I was like, and
Wake
we
up.
talked about it.
Wake up.
And then I was just sort of like, oh, I think, you're so nice, but maybe we can just be friends or not friends. I was just clear. Well, actually, I have a question for you guys because it was hard for me to figure out how do people even get invested just by profiles? Like, how can people make that much of a commitment just by photos and texts and messages?
It depends what you define as like a commitment, right? 'Cause I think some people see going out to dinner with a stranger a very low commitment thing, or drinks maybe. But I don't know. What about you, Jay?
I think for the app thing, it's just the profiles. It's really like superficial, but it's like, yeah, am I attracted or not to this person? And then I'll swipe right or left, you know? And then from there, if I actually matched, then you go like further and like look at the profile and like see if there may be something interesting about them that can spark a conversation, and then trying to do that. But also like I like did not do well. I didn't do the apps very much and did not do well with it. So I don't know. I'm like the wrong person to ask.
I killed it.
Yeah, Aaron killed it.
Crushed those apps.
I bet
They
you
kicked me
did.
off because I was blowing up their servers.
So what is your secret? Because I'm pretty bad at it too, and I just get
I
rid
think
of it
that
really quickly.
when I was on the apps, it was a confidence thing, obviously. So just like going in there being like, hey, I mean, I never went in with a cheesy pickup line, but I was very quick to make plans. Like, hey, what's up? Like, oh, just say something about their profile. Oh, like, I love the fucking Adirondacks or whatever the fuck, right? The Adirondacks is my favorite mountain range. And then going into like, hey, like, I know a bar that has really great mountain food. But it's as simple as like, say something about the profile that shows them that you are reading, that you can read, right? Make a connection between their interests and something that's going on. And it's literally that easy. And then if they are attracted to you back and you haven't done anything that's going to like scare them away, then it's kind of a no-brainer if that person's on the app with the same intentions as you, right? Also, because for me, a big thing was always like, some girls just don't like guys who are my height, you know what I mean? So I don't advertise my height on like the apps, but you know, like I'm like 5'8", so it's like I'm like the short king status, right? So it's like I have gone on dates where like I show up and the girl is my height, you know? And I know that some girls just aren't into that, but I'm not gonna say that while we're talking. It's better we meet in person. And then I try to let my short king charm come out. My lady, would you like the scallops, my lady? And sometimes it works. Sometimes I was able to pull girls that were like taller, and like white girls too. I was always so scared to talk to white chicks. But then the apps kind of gave me this like veil that I was able to be confident through. And then when I met them, if I could see their face soften when they saw me and were talking, then I knew I had my in. So
I think it's also a matter of really committing to the dating app experience. I was sort of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I think if I'm like fully like, it's like making a movie. I'm like, I'm going to do it and just do it. Like, then I think it would be much more fruitful and fun, honestly.
Because I also feel like a lot of what I learned is like, if you just go in with an open mind, you can like fall in love with most anyone, honestly.
I agree with that. And actually, I think that's why the 2 dates I did go on went well. And I think it helps that I am a writer-director. Because I like asking deep, potentially uncomfortable questions. Because I like it, it comes out really naturally or easily for me. And so both of those dates, I felt like it was quick to feel connected to them.
Can you give me an example of a deep, uncomfortable question you asked someone? Because that sounds like a really funny title for the episode, actually.
Oh.
Deep, uncomfortable questions with Katie Kim.
I feel like all of my friends are probably like, that's every time I see her.
That's true, though. You do ask questions. You're a great question asker. Yeah.
Thank you.
So tell me,
question to that, yeah.
what was the one thing you were told not to do as a child?
Eat a lot of carbs.
Don't eat too much.
Yes.
Interesting.
That's,
And it's fascinating to see how that's manifested in your adult life because you are a very slow eater. Like super slow.
Oh, yes. I think there's a connection.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Well, psychologist Carl Jung would say that that's your shadow self that's been repressed.
I think so. Actually, speaking of shadow self, I thought maybe I would talk about this when we talk about art, but I just started watching this movie called Stutz.
Okay, never heard of it.
Directed by Jonah Hill on Netflix.
With his therapist who has like Parkinson's disease. Yeah, it was interesting. His approach was interesting. I liked it. Yeah. But yeah, I started it, but then I hated it because Jonah Hill made it. And I just think that he's kind of like, I'm not going to say like I don't like Jonah Hill because I don't know him, but he annoys me. And I'll just leave it at that.
Maybe if you finish it, your empathy for
No, it's
Jonah
because when I
Hill
worked
will
at a
grow.
restaurant once, Jonah Hill came in and demanded a table for 5 and then like would not take no for an answer and pulled the Hollywood bullshit on me.
Is this true?
No, of course not.
Oh, okay.
I was a busboy. I wasn't the hostess.
Oh, did Jonah Hill actually?
No,
come
never,
in?
never,
Okay,
never.
Cool.
Well, no, that's a great segue then, because we wanted to make this episode about art, specifically being mentally ill for art. You know, you're a filmmaker. You want to create art that heals people, as we covered before. I wonder, though, have your approaches and perspectives on art changed at all, you know, over the last 2 years?
I think it changed a lot. I feel like my process and my my perspective on filmmaking has changed.
In what way?
First of all, it's really hard.
Oh, so you thought that it was easy 2 years ago. You're just like, yeah, art is just about healing and it's all about like beauty and humor are
That
all we
sounds
need.
exactly like me. No, I didn't think it was easy. I just didn't have the concept of, I was deep into grad school. So I already spent like 4 years. I had the resources, the camera, like the crew. I mean, if we have the camera and we have the crew and the actors, like you can make a movie. And we use like our friends' apartments. I think I shot at yours once. But I think the biggest challenge was someone has to believe in you.
Have you finished writing your feature?
In the process, if anyone wants to co-write with me, please email me.
You know, I actually did wake up the other day and I wrote like a scene. And then I deleted it this morning. I reread it and I was like, what the fuck, dude? Because I was just trying to like get in your head of like what kind of character is she trying to make. I wrote like, it wasn't even a scene. I wrote basically like character outlines for the girl and the aunt. And I was like, I actually have no fucking idea if this is the like character she wants. So I just deleted it because it was like,
Why'd you delete it though? Because
it was only like 400 words. I could pump it out in like in like 10 minutes. I wrote it like while drinking coffee. I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
And then I forgot about it. And then this morning I was like, what the fuck is this? And I was like,
anyways, it would be interesting to talk about how I got to even that idea because I was working on something totally different a year and a half ago.
Let's go back. So you're saying that you need someone to believe in you, someone to basically fund you, first of all.
Yes, but so many people I met, especially people who have made work that went somewhere, I asked them, how do you pick who to
work with?
And they literally just like the person, you just meet them and you get the vibe. And it was just so simple. It was so much like dating. And I actually thought your script had to be done for people to say, I will work with you or I'll help you make this project. And right before coming to Korea, I'm starting to get that where people are like, oh, I will help you make this. And I really thought they needed to see everything. And I still think that I need a script, obviously. And I do have something. But anyways, who you are is huge in terms of why people invest in your project.
Is there something, I'm curious about this genuinely, is there something that you think all great directors have in common? Like for me, it might be mental illness. I think some of the greatest directors have been mentally ill. But I'm also being a little facetious because I want to push back against the myth of insanity in art. I think that's like a romanticization of, first of all, it's romanticizing mental illness. And it's also discounting like the consequences of like actions, right? So we all say like Kanu's a genius and that's why he acts this way, right? Or like Van Gogh was a genius, that's why he cut off his ear. And I've also had many friends in my life who felt like they had to act crazy and act erratically and act in many cases like a shitty human being for the sake of being an artist or whatever. Like Jay, have you found that to be true in like the music scene, for example?
Well, a lot of people who I admire, they have been like tortured, you know. But in my personal experience of like meeting actual people in the industry who are successful in my eyes, a lot of people are just regular ass nice people, and I think that is something that needs to be highlighted. And because so many of like the, you know, people who are bipolar or have like they're clearly struggling with some sort of mental illness or something that gets romanticized, and that's easy to do, but I think that people who are just normal, functioning, nice human beings who are really talented, that should also be celebrated.
It's funny because it's like, to a certain extent, I know that I produced the greatest art when I tapped into an uncomfortable memory or like traumatic memory. I think that's, for me personally, I was able to create good art that way. But I don't think that I'm like exceptionally brilliant. I definitely don't think I'm a genius. And there's a really funny quote that my teacher told me that said, genius is an exception and it's always a terrible influence on others. Meaning that we look to the most famous musicians or writers or screenwriters or whatever, being like, I want to be like that person. But like, what you don't understand is like that's the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
And that majority of successful artists are just normal fucking people who work very hard. And it's that simple, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I always had this kind of idea that, you know, artists had to have like a really tough upbringing or, you know, they had to be poor or something and then just come out and then they just really made it and like overcame their hardships. And a lot of the time, you know, some people are like really amazing, talented people are just come from like regular ass middle class homes.
And a surprising amount of like successful artists have come from wealthy families.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean?
It's true. Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
Kubrick is a great example. Yeah. Paul Thomas Anderson. Yeah. All these Hollywood babies. Timothy Chalamet. Nepotism. But so going back though to your art, right now you're learning, okay, it's about meeting the right people, finding people that believe in your project. You were telling me last week when we hung out that you've met you schmoozed with a few people on some big projects, some pretty successful Korean Americans out there. Have you felt yourself being drawn into the Korean American cohort in LA? Because I'm sure it's a pretty powerful group, especially with now that Asians are winning all these awards. You know, like now is the time for our voices. I feel like I'm like the president of some sort of chapter for Asian voices, but like this is our time. Finally, they're listening to us. But absolutely, I feel like now is the time you can get something greenlit about a girl from Korea living in LA trying to become a director. Like you could make your life into a Lifetime movie. We could shoot higher than
Why
that.
does it have to be Lifetime? Can it be 824?
That's
no
like
offense to
that's the
Lifetime.
dream. Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed meeting Asian American artists in LA. That's like my favorite part of being there because I didn't even realize that's something I would that I was looking for.
Community.
Community, yes.
Support.
No, it sounds cliche, but to be able to talk to people who can, I don't know, who understand something. I think being Korean is a very specific experience, or having Korean cultural influence. Being back here, I'm reminded again how homogenous everything is and how you look matters in this country, like your weight. You know, like I said, like the one thing that I heard a lot was like, watch what you eat, like don't eat too much rice. That is part of, I think, our DNA as a Korean American person, at least for me. And to be able to just like, that's the kind of movies I want to make. That's the dialogue. And people talk about very specific daily stuff like that, like don't eat too much rice. And to be able to have that common language with someone else very easily, very naturally, is super fun and exciting. And I'm very grateful for it. And I think they could tell. I never really had this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that helps.
What if a producer came up to you and was like, Katie, I love your script about this like struggling Korean American artist living with her aging Korean aunt out in the valley. And I think it has a lot to say about the struggles of immigrants and the generational gap. And I'm ready to write you a check for $2 million, but I just want you to make her white. What would you say?
I would say no.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, yeah, she's white.
I would definitely watch that too.
Yeah, I'd be like, that's a really interesting
That's
creative
very
constraint.
interesting.
Yeah. How does this white chick know everything about Korean culture?
Actually, now you're convincing me.
Yeah.
It's not even because I care about writing an Asian American story. It's just because I don't think it'd be fun for me to make a movie that I don't know very much about. And I've done it before. I've made projects without knowing who my characters are. And I didn't even finish some of those projects, and they haunt me. So I don't want to do that again.
Haunted by the projects that never came to fruition. Wow.
I will finish them though.
Okay. Yeah. First things. Well, you need a car first. I feel like there's a
It
few.
keeps coming back to the driving lessons.
Jeez, man, you really need to get a car. What's like a recent negative experience that you had?
Oh, where do I start? Well, I wouldn't say it's negative, but I'm so easily affected by my family. And that is why I want to make movies about family stories.
As in your your mood is affected by their mood, or
What was the question?
what was a recent negative experience that you had?
Recent negative experience. Oh, that's a thing. Define negative.
Oh man,
Didn't feel good about it coming out of it.
yeah, like
Maybe?
it didn't make you
Yeah.
feel pleasant afterwards,
Yeah.
and maybe it left a unpleasant impression on you.
See, even the driving lesson, after I left, I was like, actually, this is great because I need to feel scared and uncomfortable now as I'm learning so that I'm safer and more confident on the road in LA. So that turned into a positive experience.
I see.
My best friend Dina is an amazing driver. I just wanted to say that.
I also, this is also a sidebar. I've noticed you say this a lot. You always clarify a friend versus a best friend.
Oh, really?
I find that hilarious. Yeah.
Wait,
like, what
that's
are
so
we in
funny.
second grade?
Wait, that is so funny.
You do that a lot, though.
I
My
should-
best friend Sarah, my best friend Dina.
Oh,
Yeah.
Should I stop?
No, it's something I've noticed, and I just think it's so funny.
That is so funny. Maybe it's because my favorite movie is Frances Ha, and I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Jaehyun and I were
plug
watching that
Frances
the
Ha.
other day, and she like got really into it, but we just didn't finish it.
Oh.
But it made me realize that her movies, Greta Gerwig's movies, are just basically fucking coming of age stories of just different ages. Like Lady Bird was a high school girl, Frances Ha is a 27-year-old. Those are the only two movies I know that she's made.
Little Woman.
Little Woman is also a coming of age story.
Oh,
Holy shit, yeah. She nails that. She's super good at it.
Define coming of age.
Coming of age, okay, if you want to, let's see. I can, from the literary perspective, there is a type of book called a Bildungsroman. Okay, I know it sounds super weird, Bildungsroman. And these are the books that are about, like, for example, Catcher in the Rye is a very famous example of it. The Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce is another famous example of it. But these are books about young people trying to enter adulthood through the lens of innocence, naivety, love, and confronting the lessons and then emerging stronger than before. That's basically what a coming of age story is. And the great thing is that a coming of age story can happen at different stages of life. So when I was younger, I always thought it had to be about a young person going to college or a college person getting their job. But I'm realizing that every 3 or 4 years, I've come of age in a different way. You know what I mean? So I think that we have this misconception that a coming of age story has to be about youth, but I'm more and more, and maybe because I'm getting older, I'm realizing that, I could write a coming of age story about someone in their mid 30s confronting XYZ. You know what I mean? I think that, going back to some of the work that you were doing at Columbia, Blue Gray is in some ways a coming of age story because she's on the precipice of adulthood and deciding whether to go back to America or Korea. I think Egg is in some ways a coming of age story about an artist trying to figure out how to create art. Maybe you haven't analyzed your work, but I have written papers on Katie Kim's filmography.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Wait, why did you ask me that question again?
We were talking about Greta Gerwig and
Oh, right,
coming
right.
of age
Because you
films
said I
and-
saved my best friend blank. Maybe I just have a lot of best friends, and
You have two. It's Sarah and Dina. Sean?
Sean.
I've never heard you say my best friend Sean. You're always like,
I
Sean.
would say Sean is a best friend.
Good. Sean's a great guy. Other things about art that I did want us to touch on. So, why do you think you want to create art? Why do you want to be an artist?
I thought about this a lot in LA and before that, because grad school is so much like, who cares, Why does this have to be made? I think I have a lot of, it's very tied to my dad being a doctor and he's sort of trained me so much on how to be healthy. I think for me, it's more about bringing that to life. And I think making movies and I think turning my dad's theories and philosophy and teachings into art is the best way to spread it because he's tried that.
What was a recent work of art that healed you, would you say?
Studs. I like
Stutz.
Stutz.
Wow, you have terrible taste. I'm kidding. Jokes. Also, I was a little harsh on Jonah Hill earlier. I actually admired his attempt to make a good movie and how spectacularly he failed when he made mid-90s, the skateboard movie.
I did
You
not
didn't
like
like it?
mid-90s.
Oh.
Dude,
I'm
it has
sorry.
no
Did you like
ending.
it?
Dude, it ends
enjoyed
it
it,
ends
yeah.
with fucking that little kid falling off a roof and then his friends being like showing him the skate video in the hospital and that's it. There's like no resolution. There's like so many conflicts introduced in that movie, familial or otherwise, that are never resolved. And I was like, this guy's fucking Hollywood baby. You know what I mean? He is a Hollywood baby.
Yeah.
He's a Hollywood zaddy, actually.
I'd say, well, Stutz is most. I literally saw it yesterday, but it also is doing what I'm trying to do. So it might be very healing for me because I'm seeing an example of how it can be done.
It's inspiring you, essentially.
Yes. And it also gives me tools, like physical tools I can use when I feel anxious or insecure or depressed, which is like, if this is going to be called mentally ill for art, I think art making is so mental and so inward. I remember my therapist, I got a therapist in grad school, and
Court
she sort of-
ordered. The judge made me get a therapist in grad school.
Well, it was also because it was affordable. I think it was like free.
Yeah, it was through Columbia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, I remember her saying that writing is one of the more difficult jobs. And she was legitimizing it. And she said, because it's so emotional, it's so mental, it's so in your head. And you could argue that can even be more difficult than physical labor. She didn't say it like that, but actually having worked at a restaurant and being really physical, being a production assistant and being really physical, I would still say writing is harder for me because I have to revisit these traumatic events, like you said, for your work. It's hard, and I don't know what I'm saying right now. Why am I saying this right now?
Because you're mentally ill.
Like, yes,
for art.
that is.
Neither of us are sitting here. You're in a room by yourself, just talking to a microphone.
Oh, sometimes
you're hallucinating.
I literally say things out loud.
Oh, me
all
too.
the time.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
But I say it out loud in the off chance that someone might hear it and laugh. Like I'll like just do impressions by myself and then be like, anyone hear that?
Should watch Stutz.
Yeah, give us an example of like a tool that he taught you on how to deal with like low thoughts or, as Celine would say, low energy thoughts.
Well, it talks about shadow. So you guys seem to be really into shadow.
Well,
here.
just because like Celine, our friend Celine Jung, our ex-co-host Celine Jung, was super into that stuff. So there's been many episodes we've done where she's talked at length about doing work on yourself and stuff. I've learned a lot from Celine, to be honest. Just the other day, she sent me and Jay an article about shadow stuff. She was like, "Oh, you should talk about this with Katie." So I'm trying to like incorporate it a little bit. But Jay didn't read the article, and I barely did, so I'm kind of improvising right now. Yeah, we did not do the reading.
Yeah, they didn't have a Cliff Notes on it.
But it's essentially saying, like, writing is a big part of healing, first of all. You'd be surprised by what you put on the page when you are giving yourself permission to answer difficult questions. And I also found that, like, literally just talking, obviously, for me helps a lot. Yeah.
Well, that actually leads to something that I learned from the movie that I think everyone should know. It's called Life Force. So the therapist, that Jonah Hill's therapist, basically the whole movie gives tools for people to use when they're having a hard time. But it's essentially a triangle, and the bottom of it, it's three things in the triangle. The bottom is body, like physical needs. On top of that is people. And the top of the triangle is yourself. And essentially, those three things have to be in good shape for you to be healthy. And it seems so simple, but just to lightly talk about it, like body is so important. Like my dad being a doctor, I always recommend, even my actors, I've been focusing a lot on like body work. Like, let's give you an activity. I'm trying to get them to have an emotion out, let's say, but I actually think that physicality brings out our emotions like subconsciously. So yeah, I'm just things like that. Like if my friend's depressed, I'll be like, let's go for a walk.
Yeah.
We don't even have to talk.
Yeah,
you know?
just do your jazz hands. Are you feeling sad? Just jazz hands.
Yeah.
Dude, I bet you doing this for 5
Wait, this
minutes.
is actually-
Yeah, doing this for 5 minutes is going to make anyone feel better. You know what I mean? Just jazz hands.
Especially if you're by yourself.
Hell yeah.
I think that's-
Also, research has shown that just straight up smiling
Yes.
will
Things
actually
like
alter
that.
your mood.
Yes.
Which is like seems self-evident and so obvious, but like but it's funny because like to tap into creativity I think does require a little bit of like uninhibited thinking, right? And sometimes that takes you into darker places. So it's tough. Like I don't think there's one way to be creative, for example. I don't think there's one way to approach art, but it seems like a common like technique I've seen among artists that I know is to kind of like go into this weird fugue state of like deep thinking. And sometimes that you come out the other side having not produced any art, but then just like engendered a lot of weird thoughts and then been like, fuck, like what's wrong with me? I feel like that's been more of the case for me these days because like I'm trying to think of like a creative project and like a good, and I'm like revisiting all these memories and cringing at myself and just being like, oh God, do I want the world to know about this? You know, like whereas when I was in my 20s, I was like, fuck it, I don't care what people read about me. And maybe now I'm a little bit more like, I don't know if do people first of all need to know this, and then do people care? Like, am I just saying this to embarrass myself? You know what I mean? Like putting yourself out there as an artist is super hard. Easier when you're younger, I think. I think easier when you're younger. Yeah.
I feel like that's what stops people from making art. I think about that pretty often, like especially my friends who express how they want to make more art, not even for other people, like for themselves. I wonder what's stopping them.
Probably, well, I think we like to think of art as like this impulse, and great artists have this impulse and they have to create their art. But I also think that access to art and the tools and the resources is privileged. There are people who are highly creative out there that don't have the time to work on art because they're struggling to pay their rent and feed their kids. And I think that's also why like people gravitate towards more commercial art, and high art is inherently privileged. You know, like literature, I was just reading, the New Yorker published an article about how literary criticism has imploded upon itself because like back in the day, you know, like Princeton and Yale were like, T.S. Eliot is a great modernist poet, and like you had to read Eliot and you had to read Ezra Pound and you had to read the modernists, and all these dudes in academia were just jerking off to their own like findings about great literature. And now, like, the only people who can talk about these things are extremely privileged, typically white men. You know what I mean? And I love how the discourse around literature has shifted more towards POC. But you know that we're going to have a canon of the POC that's going to be also kind of relegated to the ivory towers. And so it's ironic that a lot of the things that we consider like high art or high-minded good art is inaccessible to most people, and that's what also gives it its power, you know, which kind of makes me feel bad because like I would love to read James Joyce, but you have to be educated to read James Joyce, and that's kind of the appeal of it too, right?
Wait, this goes back to what I said about, I think in order for you to make art, someone has to believe in you, whether it's financially or emotionally, because I realized this recently that I never went to a museum with my parents. My parents never encouraged me artistically. They never exposed me to any type of art except for movies.
Right.
But movies is still the most sort of commercialized version of art. Like, I don't know if you mentioned that, but because they were working constantly. My dad is a doctor, but his own dad came from nothing after the war. Like, he raised his family. He didn't have a father because my grandpa's dad died during the war. Anyways, you've heard it all if you're Korean. But because of that, like, my dad wasn't exposed to art. And my mom, also her dad had nothing, so she wasn't exposed to art. So essentially, but I think what happened to me is that my dad encouraged me to be an artist because he became a doctor, not really because he wanted to be, but his dad forced him and he hated it. He now has embraced it in his own way, but he was like, I want you to do what you want to do. It's both a blessing and a curse to some extent, but I do think that my dad being like, I want you to be a filmmaker because I really do think that's helpful for people and healing. So I want you to do that. it still keeps me going. So I wonder if somebody has that, whoever that is, how that would affect. I mean, I'm just saying that it is still a privilege.
It is. But I think what you are also saying is that you shouldn't feel bad. If you're given an opportunity to create art that is afforded by your privilege, no, more power to you. Unless you're Jonah Hill, in which case you're a piece of shit. But it makes you wonder, though, like, if everyone was given such encouragement and money, I mean, how much more amazing film would come out every year? And how many more interesting stories would be funded? And these are questions that I think artists are thinking about, and to some extent, producers and editors and publishers and stuff, and music. What are they called? Music houses? What are they called? Labels. Labels would think about this too, right? But then we have to remember that art is a commercial product at the end of the day, and so what is marketable? Well, luckily, right now, Asian marginalized voices are very marketable, which is why this podcast makes so much money.
Oh.
Yeah.
Guess how much money we make.
Sorry, I just hit the mic.
Wrong. We don't make anything.
We make negative money.
Jay spends $15 a month to keep the lights on.
A whole $15?
Actually, we're going to charge you for being on the podcast after this is over.
You know what? Okay.
All right, Katie. Well, thank you so much for being on this podcast once again. Hopefully, we'll have you on after you've made your first feature, and we can actually, like, down the line, the Library of Congress will put all these podcast episodes into a vault, and, you know, we'll be, like, integral to, like, American art or something like that. To close out, we haven't done this in a long time, Katie, but what is your favorite side dish?
Oh, there's so many. I think I like shigumchi.
Shigumchi, like spinach.
The spinach,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Kimchi, muchim.
Yeah. Okay, that's a great answer.
Healthy.
Oh,
Very
I
healthy.
like health.
Dude, speaking of health, we're not going to get into it, but I went to my doctor today, and he was like, you have to stop eating these foods. But one of them was like, you have to eat more spinach.
Oh.
So I'm going to start eating shigumchi like a motherfucker, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Also, he said
So
garlic,
relevant.
more garlic. And I was like,
The shigumchi
Easy.
muchim has
I
garlic
know.
in it.
Yeah.
I'm
You
going to
just-
eat that for dinner, just that. Yeah. But I can't have pasta anymore, dude.
You literally
You have
cannot
a
have
lot
it.
of pasta.
I know, but he was like, dude, way too much weed. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the Side Dish Podcast, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Bye. I love you.